Stand up, you've been sitting way too long.
Welcome to this special edition of the Ralph Nader Radio Hour. I'm Steve Scrovan. In this series, Ralph and constitutional scholar Bruce Fein will lay out articles in the impeachment of President Donald J. Trump. Count 13, violation of the Fourth Amendment.
This one goes to the core of everybody's right of privacy that Louis Brandeis, before he became Supreme Court Justice, said was a constitutionally based right of privacy. And it's rooted in the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. Elaborate that.
Yes. The Fourth Amendment prohibits any unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. Ordinarily, the government, before they encroach on your privacy, needs to get a warrant based upon probable cause to think you're implicated in some kind of crime. And the warrant is issued by a neutral magistrate, not by an executive official. But we have now a pattern under both the amendments to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and an executive order, which I think is illegal, Executive Order 12333, precedents without any warrants at all, suspicionless authority given to the National Security Agency, FBI, and executive officials in the CIA to spy for, not for crime, but for foreign intelligence purposes, which can include anything under the sun. The Fourth Amendment did not anticipate encroachments on privacy for something as remote as foreign intelligence. What's that? The crime has specific elements and definitions to it, and it limits the ability of the government to destroy and upset your life. And now we're at a situation, Ralph, where we don't even know how much dossier is piled up against us. They have so much information in the National Security Agency that they don't even have to have names. It's so high. We talk about trillions, megatrillions. They invent new words to describe the volume of data that they collect. Suspicionless, like a vacuum cleaner.
The modern technology gives the NSA and other intelligence agencies in our government the capability to engage in dragnet snooping, dragnet surveillance of everybody.
Yeah,
all the phone calls, all the various electronic communications, the emails. And that's what was exposed by Ed Snowden when he released a lot of documents saying that here were high officials and high agencies of our own government violating the Fourth Amendment vis-a-vis about everybody in the country who uses a phone or engages in emails or text messages. Is that correct?
Yeah, right. And it wasn't as though they went in, got a specific warrant and suggested, okay, we have reason to believe X is engaged in terrorism or some kind of criminal activity. It's just blanket interception of everything. It's even as a matter of policy, aside from the privacy invasion, it doesn't make any sense. They have so much data they can't find anything. And that's despite the massive surveillance. They don't head off any of these so-called terrorism plots. The ones that are headed off, sometimes it's because you have very brave and courageous passengers and airlines, like Abdul Muttalib, that Christmas Day airline, I think, landing in Detroit, or specific tips. But the volume is so great, you can't filter through it all. It's like having a haystack looking for a needle, and the haystack grows logarithmically every day. The needle becomes more and more difficult to find. But even putting that aside, listen, we were founded on a country that the right to be alone, as Louis Brandeis pointed out, is the most cherished right. Unless you're doing something where there's a particular reason to think it's wrong, you have a right to let the government leave you alone. And that's what's been totally destroyed. It's like, oh, well, what do you have to hide? The government, that's not the question, isn't what do you have to hide? Unless the government has a reason to disturb your privacy, you're right to be private for whatever reason you want or none. You want to dance, you want to sing, you want to do stand on your head or anything else, because we believe liberty, not power, is the most important value to foster.
And the Fourth Amendment itself foreshadows this. They say that if you're going to invade anybody's privacy, you, the government, has to have a judicial approval. They call it a judicial warrant.
Yeah.
And you have to explain to the judge or the court that there's probable cause of some violation by the person or people that you want to place under surveillance. So the safeguards are really quite wide-ranging, right into the Fourth Amendment. And with the whole internet and all kinds of intrusive technology, they still cannot engage those technologies unlawfully against you, the people, without adhering to those two standards: a judicial warrant, that is a judicial okay, and demonstrating probable cause. And this dragnet snooping avoids both of those, and that's why it's illegal.
Yeah, and moreover, in the Fourth Amendment contemplates that the encroachment on privacy is necessary in order to enforce a criminal prohibition, serious antisocial conduct. In what's happening now, they're gathering information, they're invading your privacy, not because they think any crime is happening, just because they want to gather foreign intelligence. Well, foreign intelligence could be the imports and exports of Thailand, anything under the sun. So they're using the justification for invading privacy at a benchmark vastly lower than the criminal standard of the Fourth Amendment.
What are they resorting to in terms of law, executive order and FISA and all that?
Yeah. Well, that's what it is. I mean, the courts have thrown out some of it. They amend the law again. The executive order, unfortunately, the Congress doesn't exercise any oversight on this executive order 12333. Whether they want to or not, the intelligence committees get co-opted by it. And that's why, in some sense, you need the press to serve as a surrogate for Congress, taking leaks, people like Ed Snowden, who are worried about what's going on, and disclose the information. I mean, one thing that's really stunning about the Ed Snowden incident is that after the disclosures, Congress finally got around to reforming, at least narrowing, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. They would have never done that ever without Mr. Snowden. And yet all the people on the Intelligence Committee said, well, you're a traitor, Mr. Snowden. Really? He's the one who did the oversight that you were derelict in omitting to do. And then you recognized your dereliction because you passed new laws. You should call them the Ed Snowden law. But that's, again, another example of the breakdown of congressional oversight. Congress, they could pass a statute that overrode the executive order and said, no, you cannot collect any intelligence except pursuant to a statute enacted by Congress. The executive order is null and void.
And that is count 13 in the impeachment of Donald Trump, violation of the Fourth Amendment. Join us for episode 14 in our series, where Ralph and Bruce sum up their argument for a constitutional reset that goes beyond the presidency of Donald Trump.